Hello, I'm Mantastic'c and Fantastic, and today I want to talk about the GungHo Another Story collab, which is actually the Marvel reskin. So we have had reskins in the past, which is essentially taking a collab that was in JP, changing the art for licensing issues and whatnot, but mirroring or copying the cards. And it is obviously unfortunate because I think the Marvel universe is actually monstrously large, at least in North America. It's actually a franchise I'm quite familiar with, so I'm a little sad that there's this large disconnect between having some card being called Orlando versus Thanos. It's not quite the same. This morning I woke up and I was singing Spider-Man, but no, we don't get Spider-Man. But regardless of all that, this is a reskin, and the timing of it is a little awkward because in JP they've had 2 runs of it in total. So there's the initial debut and then a second rerun. And the second rerun they gave various buffs and upgrades as well as new evolutions and cards. And for our debut event, we have all the content from the first debut event in JP plus the buffs to the existing cards for what we currently have. We don't gain access to the new things that were released, which is a shame because you can make a big argument that Cyclops, which is an orb skin card from the second rerun, is not available, and having less desirable chase things to pursue is quite disheartening. Furthermore, the fact that this event debuted in Japan well over a year ago is a bit problematic because at the time, Shura 3 was kind of the big new endgame thing to try and beat and clear, and at this point in time, Shura 3 is not quite the thing that we're trying to pursue and beat it right now. It's more so about super gravity dungeons. And super gravity dungeons, they tend to be really only conquerable by scaling multiplier leaders such as Prim, Kaishu, Atelli, or blob brick style teams that feature say Shiva Dragon or Alpha Z. Point of the matter is those types of cards tend to be the ones that excel the best in super gravity dungeons, which is kind of the direction we're moving in at this point in time. And the Marvel cards at this point in time just don't keep pace, and it feels a little disheartening because this is a debut event, but many of the cards just feel underwhelming or lackluster right from the get-go, and that is definitely going to be quite frustrating. But on the bright side, all the cards do have weapon assists, including the bottom rarity cards, which in turn means even if you roll something from the bottom, you're at least going to have options for weapon assists. And I'm a huge fan of weapon assists because weapon assists last the longest. They have the longest longevity compared to any other card because you can still use weapon assists many years later, potentially even. Fagin Rai's weapon assist, one of the greatest initially, I occasionally still pull it out from time to time, just because the awakenings are quite strong. Weapon assists, for the most part, haven't gained so many awakenings. They haven't been power crept as quickly, I find, compared to leaders and subs. Furthermore, you can monster exchange for 6 out of the 7 top rarity cards, with Orlando, which is Thanos in Japan, being the biggest prize. And the reason why Orlando is such a big prize is because he features a 50% gravity. It's the only card in the game with a 50% gravity. And this is invaluable because so many Super Resolve thresholds are actually capped at 50%, which means prior to Thanos or Orlando, we would have to use, say, 2 different gravities, which is 2 instead of 1 active skill, or just other tricks, or just suffer through the, Super Resolve mechanics. But point of the matter is, with Orlando, you are able to completely bypass that. So if you are a big fan of farming content as efficiently and quickly as possible, he is going to be invaluable for that. Furthermore, he actually has useful and meaningful awakenings, especially for rainbow-based teams, and for the future, Alt MD4, he is a popular choice for Rainbow because you can basically ignore a lot of Big Bang's problems because you just instantly gravity him down to his Super Resolve and then you just smack him down. Point is, you can dodge a lot of mechanics if you do that. So that is the main chase card, I'd say, from this event at this point in time. You can make some arguments that Captain Marvel or, what's her face? Militia, I can't pronounce the names, she can be a respectable leader for UN2, but here's the thing. UN2 is going to have its own title run. It's going to be the next iteration of Super Gravity Dungeons, and we don't know exactly when it's going to debut. And we have actually 2 weeks for this event, so don't trade for things right away because maybe we might get a better event announced sometime after. Again, 2 weeks is a long time. Something might get announced towards the end of the second week. And if it's something like, say, One Piece, which is way better by comparison, or maybe our 10-year anniversary Super Godfest, those events can be much more lucrative to roll by comparison. Furthermore, Captain Marvel, like a lot of her teams that I've looked up for you into, they feature Skulls. And if you don't have Skulls, or like at least the other pieces of the team, you shouldn't trade for it, because like, yes, she could be a potentially to clear it, but it may not necessarily be in your best interest, especially if other things do come out. And for the most part, I feel like this is an event that you should roll not too much in. I probably will do a couple of rolls just because, things are new. It's a large rolling pool, so it's much harder to actually hit a duplicate, at least from a small rolling sample. I say that now, but I can almost foresee myself getting the same card twice in a row in my first 2 rolls, but hopefully that's not the case. But on the other side, the problems of this event are, well, like I said, it's a reskinned event that's kind of like almost like a 1.5 iteration release. Like, we didn't get like the second rerun all the stuff from it, but we're a bit better than the first debut event, so we're kind of like awkwardly in between, and it just feels a little outdated for the most part. And 10 magic stones feels incredibly expensive for this event. Like, yes, the cards do have weapon assist and they can have flexibility, but it does feel quite difficult to stomach 10 magic stones. Of course, getting any of the top rated cards is probably going to be a boon to most monster boxes because they do have nice weapon assist potentially, but is it worth trading for? Is it worth rolling hard for? Not really so much. And like I already mentioned, like our cards are kind of coming out somewhat late-ish. Like the original debut of Marvel happened for sure 3 when that was the big deal. We're quite a ways past that at this point in time. So a lot of these cards do feel outdated on our debut, which is not a nice feeling overall. And the bottom rarity just can feel underwhelming, along with the fact that like we may just get better events in the future. But with that being said, I have a special guest for you lovely ladies and gentlemen who's going to provide his insight and wisdom momentarily. Alrighty, so now we are taking things over to Lumon Pad. So Lumon Pad is a lovely individual. In fact, we've spent quite a bit of time together not playing Pad. It's been a lot of Civilization 6, but Lumon is going to provide his wisdom and insight. But before that, how about you tell us a little bit about yourself, Lumon?
Hi everyone, I'm Lumon, and in my personal life, I'm a college student who works as a tutor as well. And then I play Pad on the side and have a lot of fun, making content and just playing the game.
So, outstanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is Lumon. So Lumon has been playing for quite some time. He's quite knowledgeable of the game, and he's going to provide his hot take on what he feels the GungHo Another Story collab has to offer.
Yeah, so, obviously there are a lot of different viewpoints from many different players on the machine. But personally, I have quite the negative point of view on this. Mainly, for a couple of reasons. One is that this machine is a reskin of the Marvel collab. But the problem is that the Marvel collab has had a debut run and then a rerun where they've buffed the cards and added more cards. And unfortunately for us, the reskin is very awkward in that we do have all the buff cards, but none of the new cards from the reskin. So it mirrors the debut run of Marvel, which is really unfortunate because a lot of the value of the collab, and I guess our reskin now, is concentrated in the orb skin Cyclops. And so I don't know what it's going to be when it gets reskinned, of course, but since a lot of the value is concentrated there, its lack of existence in this reskin is truly disheartening because now when we roll, we don't give ourselves a chance to obtain this amazing button base and brick unit. So that's one of the reasons why it's very disappointing not to have this weird version of the reskin where we don't get the modern version that JP has, but instead we have this weird outdated version of a collab that already feels outdated even in Japan.
Yeah, like our timing is kind of weird. We're like part way through, like we're almost like in between like the first and second rerun, like 1 point half rerun almost.
Yeah, it's truly disappointing. Another issue for me is that the cards, yes, they're power crept, but they do have some value, right? Like I know I spout a very negative opinion, But I feel like for a lot of players, it's still decent enough to roll a couple times because there's just an insane amount of weapon assists per card. Like to have three weapon assists on each card is absolutely amazing, and it's extremely useful because when you build teams, right? You have two leads, you have four subs, and you have six assists. Now, I hope we can all do math because six sounds like more than four or two. And so for me, when I, help my friends play the game and they ask me, hey, what should I roll or what should I look for? I always tell them you should always look for good assists because those last the longest. They have the most longevity. And having more assists and a variety of them gives you the opportunity to build better teams throughout time. And so Marvel, like, for example, in the past, Prince of Tennis was not the most heralded collab ever, right? Certainly not as popular as hits like Jujutsu Kaisen, right? But I recommended my friend to roll Prince of Tennis because it has so many weapon assists. And Marvel is even more than that. The 10 stone price tag is pretty high and it sucks, but again, it's not that bad. It has 3 weapon assists per card and that gives you a lot of value. So I know I'm pretty negative on it, but there are benefits too. So I'm trying to be objective here. All right, guys?
That's perfectly fair. And then, so now that you've stated your opinion, how much are you going to roll?
So I actually stayed up to roll the machine when it dropped at 1 a.m. Pacific or whatever time it is in your time zone.
Mm-hmm.
And so I bought the bundles and I rolled about a pack's worth of stones on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a pretty poor haul, unfortunately, but I did grab everything I wanted to get, such as I think the only card worth mentioning is Orlando, who is Thanos in the Marvel version, and I grabbed him. He's an amazing card. 50% gravity is absolutely insane when you look at just the state of the game and how almost all the super gravities in the game are 50%. So it makes them insane for farming and possibly other uses too. Like maybe you just have an extra slot on your team, which is unlikely, but maybe you do, and you can just bust through a super gravity in an end game run. So
yeah, just bypass a lot of mechanics you didn't want to deal with.
Yep.
So moral of the story is don't roll too hard, right?
Yeah, I mean, I did roll a decent amount. Like certainly for most people, like you would think 150 stones, give or take, is quite a lot. But I recommend most people not to roll, not just because like it's a debut, like it's not even the modern version with Cyclops, so you want to save your stones for the likely rerun that is to come, but also because we have the looming
Possibility.
gargantuan. Yeah, what's up?
Oh, looming possibility.
Yeah, looming possibility. You're right. Looming possibility of the gargantuan event known as the One Piece collab, which will probably revolutionize the game in terms of like power creep. All the cards in there are just a notch above what we have right now. So, I would definitely wait. It's again, patience is generally good in the game, and even though it's good to just commit sometimes, I think this is one of the events where you want to just, if you hold off on rolling, you will probably reap a lot more reward later.
Yeah, for sure. And do you have any other closing remarks you'd like to make?
Um, I mean, I think the last thing I think that is on everyone's mind is it's unfortunate we didn't get the actual Marvel art, right? The characters are so iconic.
Yeah, we know them. I know them.
Yeah, yeah. So truly unfortunate that we don't get, Iron Man. Like it'd be so cool to have like Iron Man or Captain America or the Hulk, right?
Yeah, you have that personal attachment to those cards potentially.
Yeah, and it could have potentially generated more revenue for GungHo too.
I'm pretty sure I would throw more stones at it if I could see like I'm getting Thanos.
Yeah. It'd be so cool to have the big purple evil dude, right?
Yeah, like why not?
Yeah.
Make our dreams come true.
Yeah.
So yeah, moral of the story is be patient, but maybe stay up till 1 a.m. to roll a little bit, maybe. I know, wise words indeed. So, with that being said, hopefully all you lovely ladies and gentlemen give a big thank you to Lumon. I will have his details listed in the YouTube section down below. And with that being said, hopefully you all have a truly fantastic day and happy puzzling.